All right. Joining me is Andy Schor, Mayor of Lansing, and currently on the ballot for reelection, and Kelsea Hector, who is also on the ballot and running for mayor of the city of Lansing. This is our second candidate conversation out of three that we've been able to schedule for the Lansing races this year, and we're excited to have them. We have agreed ahead of time that Andy Schor is going to start with a 2-minute opening remark, and then Kelsea will follow. So, Mr. Mayor, you first.
Well, first, thank you, Todd and WLNS for hosting this forum. It's appreciated. We've done several of these now, and I'm always happy to speak and talk to the voters about the important issues that I believe are going to be coming for the next 4 years. But I'll start with it's been just a tremendous honor to be in this seat, to be the mayor of the city of Lansing for the last 8 years. We have done a tremendous amount of growth. We are seeing billions of dollars. We're seeing construction everywhere. We're building housing for all incomes from affordable to market rate, workforce attainable. We are working strong on public safety and making sure that folks feel safe in their own community. We're seeing crime go down. We're using violence interruption. We're doing the things that need to be done in creating services. I'm excited that the legislature just passed money for roads because we have been doing our best to fix main roads and fix potholes, but we haven't really had the funding from the state for neighborhood roads. And now I'm excited to see that that's passed. We're dealing with parks and increasing our parks. So we are really making a livable community that I'm proud to be the mayor of. So if you vote for me, then I'll continue to do this work for the next 8 years. And I ask for your vote, and I appreciate the time.
Okay. So that was about 1 minute and 30 seconds. So good job. I'm
Thank you.
going to attaboy everybody when we get under the 2 minutes. So Kelsea, it's now to you, and I've started the timer.
So my name is Kelsea Hector, and I am obviously running for mayor against Andy Schor. And really, my campaign started because the work that I do at Punks with Lunch, I'm boots on the ground in encampments, helping people with the items that they need to survive whatever situation that they come across. And for whatever reason that they're unhoused. And so I threw my name in the ring, and then now we're here. So there's been a lot of learning that I've done on the way, which is really exciting for me. And I'm really looking for the local government to be more connected to people on the ground, right? So when we're talking about grassroots action and the solutions that we already have in our neighborhoods, using those and amplifying them with policy and support financially. I'm also really wish that our city would stop sweeping our encampments and do exactly what Judge Aquilina has done in Dietrich and kind of forced us to bring all the resources together to actually help people long term. Because where I'm sitting, there's a lot of folks that are brand new in the system, right? So brand new people who are unhoused because of economic situations or other reasons. And really, we need to kind of go upstream to figure out where the problem is actually happening from and try and fix that and remediate that. So making sure that we have more economic opportunity for folks, especially folks that may be in active substance use, making sure that there's a lot more program and support and destigmatizing different things throughout our community to make sure that everyone is supported. And when we're talking about growth, I would really love to see more community benefit agreements. When we're having new builds go in, what are some things that we can make sure to ask big developers for so that the little guy is also supported? I lived in Grand Rapids for a little bit of time when I was a teacher, and you notice that growth was abundant, but so was pushing out neighbors. And so I just want to make sure that this doesn't happen in Lansing because I love Lansing. Our communities are bright and everyone is so supportive and loving. We just want to make sure that we're showing up for each other, especially with the current situation federally. So,
Okay. Well, and you went just a little bit over 2 minutes, but that's
ooh,
okay. Um, so the first question is going to go to you. Do you want me to call you Kelsea or Miss Hector, or how do you want me to address you? I'm
Kelsey's
sorry, I
fine.
didn't ask that. Kelsey's fine? Okay. So Kelsea
Yeah.
and Mr. Mayor, you'll have the opportunity to answer the same question. So we are literally coming to the end of day 23 of the federal shutdown. We know that MDHHS has been given notice to not process SNAP payments. We know that we're going to start seeing federal grants and federal funding sources begin to dry up. Would you address that situation if you were elected? Because come January 1st, we're still going to have to dig out of whatever hole is there. So we'll start there.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to read off a post I literally made earlier on social media because it answers exactly what you're asking for. So one, only our community is going to save us. We really have to stop waiting for the government to step up and do the right thing, because obviously we're seeing right now people hurting and they're not doing that. And if I was in office, or if I was Schor, I would be calling emergency meetings with every grocery store, farmer, business, community gardens that are willing to show up at the table to figure out how we can help pantries triple their capacity. Because if we lose SNAP, people will starve. Well, I saw the numbers. I think it was like 47,000 people in Ingham County are on SNAP benefits, and I'm already seeing a lot of panic, right? People that get even just $100 a month are scared, because how are they going to feed their children? And so really what I would love to see is neighbors working together, making sure that we're building relationships so people can ask for help, because it's not charity, it's relationship building when we make sure that our neighbors aren't falling in the cracks. And also, too, I know that the Unitarian Universalist Church has Southside Community Kitchen out of there. How can we rally some funding and support so we can open their doors more for community meals besides the days that they already do it? Because we know that community dinners not only nourish people's bodies, but they do nourish people's minds, and they build that stronger relationship. I think that moments like these are really pivotal because they show where our priorities are. Where are we going to step in? What can we actually do? I would also love to see, I know the schools have programs for children to bring home food. Same question. If we're talking with grocery stores about maybe saving some food, Punks with Lunch saves about 1,000 pounds of food every week. Maybe we can funnel some of that to school so they can kids can take home more food in an abundant amount, so that we don't have a lot of people going hungry. And we know that SNAP benefits largely go to three people with kids, the elderly, and disabled. So during this time, it's time we show up for our neighbors.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, same question to you. How will you address the looming SNAP crisis and the looming loss of federal dollars as the shutdown continues to worsen and continues to actually trickle down?
Yeah, we've been having lots of conversations about this, about, what can we do to make sure that folks have the resources they need. I've reached out to just about all of our banks to see which ones are going to be doing programs. When this happened, I don't know, 5 years ago, we kind of set the examples where we had banks that were giving loans and zero interest loans and things that can be paid back when people get paid, because we had a lot of federal employees that weren't paid. We're going to see that again with several of our banks. We've been able to, I literally texted several of the CEOs and called them and got information from several of the banks, and we pushed that to our 311. We're greatly encouraging people, and we will be as different conditions hit. People don't get paychecks, benefits, and we're going to be pushing people both to our 311 and to the United Way's 211 system, both of them that work with organizations that can assist. And that's really what we need to do. We need to get folks assistance as they need until they're back on, until they're getting paid. If you're a TSA worker and you're not getting paid, but you still have to work, you need to have that bridge loan until your paycheck comes in and you get that money back and you can pay that bridge loan off. So we're doing a lot of that work. City of Lansing puts between $2 and $3 million into social services right now. So we want to connect folks with those organizations. But it's not just us. It's the City of Lansing. It's Ingham County. They put money in. There are lots of these organizations. Kelsey mentioned the Southside Community Kitchen. That's funded by the City of Lansing. We put a lot of money into that. We put a lot of money into a lot of organizations. So we certainly are going to encourage people, continue to encourage people to call 311 to see what services they can use through us. Call 211 to work with the United Way, depending on what service they need.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to follow up on that because this is just our opportunity to have this question asked to you. And that is, we are in a shutdown right now. We're in day 23. There are grants that the city relies on. There is federal funding that the city relies on. Where are we at right now with that? And are we facing any imminent funding issues with that?
Not yet. Not yet. The only one of the big issues is Advanced Peace, which we give money to. They had a massive grant cut. We have not seen that yet. I've talked to all of our departments between our human services, between our financial empowerment, and that we were concerned that that would be impacted. We have not seen grants impact the city yet in terms of cuts from the federal government through the shutdown. Again, we did see some of that when the new president took over and he started cutting things because they had DEI or whatever. We started losing some of our federal grants that we were going to use for infrastructure. But in terms of human service grants, we have not seen that yet. But we're paying attention, and our department directors are paying attention. We talk about it every Monday at cabinet. Is anyone seeing any reduction in funding, any grants? We get about $2 million in community development block grant, and that's statutory. So we have not seen that reduced because the taxes are still going into the federal government. But again, that's not a day-to-day impact on a person. That's how we build housing moving forward. It's how we do rehab. It's how we assist. So we're always concerned about that, but we have not seen that yet impacting city services.
Okay. So we're going to move to another question. Mr. Mayor, this one will start with you and then it'll go to you, Kelsey. For decades, focus of development has been on downtown Lansing. First, getting rid of Sin Strip with Terry McCain and the development of the baseball stadium, and focusing on trying to redevelop the downtown strip by opening it up on Washington Square and building to where we are today, where we have the housing units that are being built, etc. Please tell us what your vision is for redevelopment for South Lansing, particularly.
Yeah, that's South Lansing is going to be a huge piece of the next 4 years. I am tremendously excited about the Pleasant Grove and Holmes area. We've been working with the land bank. We've been working with Brent Forsberg to really develop where the Pleasant Grove School was. That got taken down by the land bank, and we're going to see housing there. Brent is working on a community build where he's going to work with community members and organizations to raise money. I just spoke to him about it about 3 hours ago. We talk about it all the time. We brought together Ingham County. We brought together the Housing Trust Fund, and those dollars are going to go into Pleasant Grove and Holmes. One thing we don't have in Southwest, two things we don't have in Southwest Lansing are medical. So we don't have healthcare, and we don't have banking. So the intention is going to be to raise money, first phase to build housing, and then to put in a bank, a credit union. We actually have a credit union that's agreed, and then work through healthcare. We've done significant work in that area already in Pleasant Grove and Holmes with the Beacon soccer field and with some of the parkland that we've put in there. But that development is going to be exciting. I'm also really excited about the work we're doing on Miller Road. We are going to see at Miller and Washington that complex, which is in terrible shape. We have emerging developers that we supported through our seed program, and the county supported, and they're going to be taking that over and redeveloping that right on Miller Road. Additionally, we're going to see housing coming into the Life O'Reilly, the old mobile home site, where they were dumping sewage, and it's going to be cleaned up. And we have a group that's going to come in and do housing there. And it's the same group that did housing over on the southeast side. You've seen significant growth on South Cedar, and we're about to do a press conference talking about that, where University Motors just got torn down, and we're going to see new businesses there. We saw the Wendy's redeveloped. We're seeing a new Big Boy come in. There's a ton of redevelopment in South Lansing. Can't forget Walter French. We were able to work with Capital Area Housing Project to rehab Walter French, and now that's affordable housing. So I'm excited about the housing. I'm excited about the growth, the businesses. There's just a ton that we're working on in South Lansing. It's been a big priority, and it's all starting to come together. So I'm looking forward to the growth there.
Okay. Kelsey, if you're elected, what will development on the south side of Lansing specifically look like under your administration?
So I think some of the things that Andy kind of mentioned are really great, like the seed program and all of those. But I want to push it a little bit further and see the zoning change in South Lansing so that we can have more like co-op housing, right? We can have more less traditional type housing to make sure that we have enough housing stock for folks. I want to make sure that we have more. You mentioned Brett Forsberg. I know one of the developments that they're doing is like a multi-community space, right? And making sure that we have more of those things. If we have place where there's walkable resources that are right next to housing, especially in a place that doesn't have direct access to food and a few fresh produce and a few blocks of their home. I think that that's super pivotal to when we're thinking about the health of people in South Lansing. I would also really love to see participatory budgeting. And so people all over the US do this in different communities, and that means that we would provide support for folks to solve their own issues in their neighborhoods. They come to, someone to help them write up a report or a grant request, and then they vote on it. And that money goes directly to the projects that they wish to have. I think that that could be super successful. And it would also help with some of the trust in, not just local government, but government in general right now. Because I know that people are scared. People don't trust in the system in this current moment. And I think that that would really, really help. I also think that when we're looking at developments, we got to make sure to focus on who is already here. And when we're bringing in bigger developments that aren't local, that we have those community benefit agreements, right? We're making sure that, where they're dumping sewage, that doesn't ever happen again. And making sure that people are heard and taken care of. And so, yeah.
Okay. So the next question will start with you, Kelsey. And this one actually deals with public safety. The perception is that public safety is still, people aren't safe in Lansing. The data doesn't back that up, but that when you're talking about perception and data, they oftentimes don't connect.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've heard as I've been out talking to people is the drag racing on the streets, the alleged armed robberies and thieving from stores. Those are all things that I've heard as adding to the perception of lack of safety in the community. What will you do if you're elected to address the public safety concerns in the city of Lansing, perception or reality?
So a few different things. I'm going to first talk about the roads. And so David Ellis, I think, had a really great plan to stop racing by changing the road design. And we can do that in a way that doesn't cost a lot of money. We've seen it in Ann Arbor. There's different pictures of where we take more permanent cone systems and we create a smaller road and maybe put some planters or something up in between where the cones would be and the edge of the road, and we make it really beautiful so it doesn't just look like construction. And then that kind of prohibits people from racing through those areas. Also too, like with bike safety, putting up more no turn on red signs so that we're making sure that people aren't getting hit by cars while they're going across the road. I also think that when we're talking about safety, perception is really key. And so I talked about this in a few other interviews I did, but there's different platforms that we could be utilizing community facing to show the data in a way that's really easy, but not only tracks what is happening, but where people are kind of being referred to. So making sure that our police department and our social work police officers have a way to report, hey, we referred someone to this. So it's not just a reactive system. I think we have the reactive part down pretty well. The preventative part we've been kind of working on, and I think that we need to amp up, right? We see that in advanced peace and some other things that are going on, but I think that we could do a lot better in that avenue. I think having more social worker cops or people that can come out and help kind of de-escalate things that aren't in a cop uniform is always a really beautiful idea. I think that people steal and commit crime when there is another underlying need that is not being met. And so, like I said before, we really have to go upstream to see where people are falling in at and provide support for the programs that are going to help them better their life so they're not in that situation. They can call on a neighbor for support, or they can go to a program for support because the stigma is less and the support is there.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, same question to you. How are you going to address the public safety issue, both perception-wise as well as actual public safety concerns?
Absolutely. Well, and you're right. The data shows that crime has gone down significantly. So that's a good thing. We want to tell people that Lansing is safe, but there is the feeling factor. I'm knocking a lot of doors and talking to people, and they're saying, show me that I should be safe, show me that I'm safe. And what do people want? They want police patrols in their neighborhoods. They want not just police responding to 100,000 calls a year. They want to see folks driving around, walking around on bikes, proactive. So that's one thing that we're going to do more of. We're going to do more police patrols in neighborhoods. To do that, we have to hire more police, and we have to have more people that are agreeing to be police officers. So we put a lot of folks in the academy, and then they don't always make it out, but we're going to increase that. But it's not just about policing. You can't police your way out of certain things like speeding. We have seen a significant increase in speeding. Our cops wrote 800 tickets, and people are still speeding. So I don't disagree with Kelsey. I agree that I think the best solutions are twofold. One, red light cameras. I would love to see cameras that will give people tickets if they're going too fast. It also can help with noise and other things. The problem is that it's illegal in the state of Michigan. So we can't do that. I'd like to, but we can't. The other piece is certainly road construction. Now, again, I'll agree with Kelsey, and I think her husband said this at a recent meeting, that road construction, the way you are, we have very long roads, and people are going to go fast. Now, the one place that maybe I'll disagree a little, it is expensive to redo roads. We looked at MLK after the terrible crash last year, and I won't call it an accident because these were two people that were drag racing. And in order to put a traffic circle in at Holmes and MLK, it's $1.5 million. It's just not what we have. So we have to figure out how can we do this the best way. We reduced lanes on Michigan Avenue. We did that for safety reasons. We reduced lanes on Grand downtown. We did that for safety reasons and for business reasons. So I do think looking at road construction is a good way to do it. And again, in addition to police officers, we want to have more social workers. I am proud that we are the first city in the state of Michigan to hire social workers. We did that in my second year that work with our police. And continuing to support advanced peace. The legislature just passed some money for CVI, for violence interrupters. We brought that in, and now we're increasing that with the school district in East Lansing. So we want to use violence interruption. So for me, and I've talked about this for years now, especially with gun violence, it's prevention and having the programs for youth and for folks for jobs and other things. It's having intervention when folks are going down the wrong path, and then it's having enforcement to get folks who are dangerous off the streets and make people feel safe.
Okay. So we're kind of at that weird point where we could do closing statements, but then we'll lose about 3 minutes, or we could do one more question, go a little bit over, and still do your 2-minute closing sessions. I'll leave it to both of you to tell me what you'd like to do. Do you have an extra 5 minutes?
What's the question about?
Well, I'm not going to tell you what the question's about. That's not.
Come on. I don't care.
Tried to nail it quick, and then a quick closing.
Okay. Well, so this one will go to you, Mr. Mayor, and then it'll go to you, Kelsey. And it is, we are absolutely still in a housing crisis. It's a housing crisis that obviously really reared its head in 2008 with the collapse and the bubble, but it has continued and it has gotten worse. What will you do to address the housing crisis? And that includes affordable housing, that includes upgrading and fixing the current housing stock, the whole kit and caboodle, and addressing homelessness and the encampments.
Absolutely. Housing for all. Yeah, housing for all. And that's what I've been talking about. It's our biggest priority. When you see the work that we've been doing, it's housing, housing, housing. We're working with a developer to build 40 or 50 units of specifically homelessness to housing over on MLK on the west side, where that's going up. A lot of people have asked me what's right off the highway going up. That's homelessness to housing right in that area. We're going to do pods to make sure that we can get people into these pods so they can get stabilized, get jobs, get documentation, whatever they need, and get into housing from there. We're working with the Lansing Housing Commission for over 100 new affordable housing units. We work with the New Vision Lansing, which is going to have workforce and market rate and affordable housing, 533 units throughout the city in Old Town and in downtown, both in the downtown and west of the Capitol. Again, we just got done finishing up Walter French, which is affordable housing. We did affordable housing on Ottawa, working with a group. This is something where we need more housing, and when a developer is going to build, they have a certain amount of money they have to put in, and when you are telling them that it has to be a certain housing rate, they need incentive. They can get it through MISHDA, they can work with MEDC, and we do tax increment financing, and we do what are called pilots or payment in lieu of taxes, and we will continue to support that when there is either it's affordable housing, attainable housing, workforce housing, or market rate housing. I don't want people when they have their third or fourth kid to leave Lansing because they can't get a 3 or 4 bedroom house. There have to be options for everybody right here in our city. We've been working on that, creating thousands of units, and we're going to continue to do that.
Okay. Kelsey, same question to you.
One, I think a really easy thing we could do is to push the passing of a renter's bill of rights. I think the rent is too damn high has it correct when they're pushing for this kind of policy change. And locally, we can be the leaders in that, right? We also need an ADA coordinator at a city level. We need to make sure that the new units that are going in are okay for disabled folks, and that the units, like, we go a step above ADA, right? Because at some point, we all could be disabled. It is something that we all probably have in common besides, death. But another thing too is when we're looking at market rate housing and affordable housing, you have to think like $19.50 an hour is the price that you have to make in order to afford a standard rent payment here. We're looking at 30% of someone's earned income, which is about $500 and something a month. And there's no way that there's any units here that are going for that price. And so making sure that when we have new developments come in, we have community benefit agreements that are forcing developers to have a certain percentage of their new builds be actually affordable for the, Lansing resident. And also too, disproportionately, we see that, Black or African Americans are facing being unhoused, right? And so making sure that, one, we're providing support for our unhoused neighbors. We're not making the situation worse by sweeping camps. Sweeping camps kills. And what we need to understand is that when we step in for support, we can do exactly like we did at Dietrich. We can pull all those organizations in. We can make sure that people have support in a way that makes sense for them. When we're talking about the pod homes, it's a great idea. But we got to make sure that the first words after pod homes, we're not talking about making it the super, super secure facility with all of the, cameras and things that are watching people, because folks are not going to feel comfortable living in what feels like a prison while they're trying to get help. And so just making sure that while we're moving forward, we're bringing those community stakeholders in, like unhoused folks, like people living under the ALICE threshold, and we're talking to them realistically about what their needs are, and then matching those with the people that have money that are doing the builds in our community. And again, I said it before, changing some of our zoning laws. I know we just changed some, but I think we can get even a little bit more creative there to make sure that, the largest population that are unhoused are single men. So why don't we put up some more co-op housing with some supports to make sure that they can not only be housed, but they can find a job, that they can find some support. And I think we can get a little bit more creative and pull on some of our, community stakeholders like we haven't before.
Okay, so we are now over time a little bit. We're going to go to closing statements. Mr. Mayor, 2 minutes for you, and I am going to be sort of strict about that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll take 2 minutes. So I appreciate, Todd, you having us in. Again, thank you to WLNS. For me, you've heard a lot of the issues. We've talked about public safety. We talked about roads. We've talked about housing. We're talking about the things that are on people's minds. These are the things that I've been working on for 8 years. It has been a tremendous honor. I am looking forward to working on these issues another 4 years if the voters decide that I'm the person that they want to be in that seat. I'm proud to be a Lansing resident. My wife and I have lived here for many years, for almost 30 years now. Our kids both went to the Lansing Public Schools. They are both Lansing School graduates. Go Vikings, Everett. And I love this city, and I would love to put myself out there. I am putting myself out there once again to serve as mayor. I ask all of your viewers and all of the citizens of Lansing for their votes, either now or anytime before or on November 4th. And if elected, I'll continue to do everything I can to grow our city, and I appreciate it.
And Kelsey, we are to you. 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, my name's Kelsea Hector, and I hope that if you can get out and vote, if you have already, thank you. To me, it doesn't really matter if you vote for me. It matters that your voice is included in the conversation. So however you can make that happen, do it, whether that's sitting at tables in City Hall, whether that's talking with your neighbors, whether that's voting, however you can, involve yourself in the process, because your voice is very necessary in how we move forward as a community and how we build relationships in our community. I do hope to see a lot of change in Lansing in the next 4 years, and whoever is at the helm, I hope that we hold them accountable for the actions that they take and making sure that all our community is safe and that we can meet our basic needs. I also really love Lansing. I chose to raise my kids here. I was born in rural Eaton County, and I continue to come back to Lansing because the community here is special. We are beautiful, and I'm just excited that I got to learn so much already, and I'm excited to see what, the next few months, the next few years bring. So, thank you.
Kelsea Hector, Andy Schor, thank you both so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording now.